Sahol Sazua, do you share the same views with him?
Yes, I couldn't agree more with him. It is said that gratitude is the least of all virtues, but ingratitude is the worst of all vices. One would have expected that the courts haven't spilled blood, haven't suffered tremendously. He just said they were at the forefront. Maybe he should have taken it a notch further. They fought the war. They were just at the forefront. They were everywhere. As we speak, during the war, not one single American soldier was on ground in the fight against the Islamic State. You can quote me anywhere. Not one single foot, not one single boot of the U.S. forces on the ground. It was the various Kurdish fighting formation, from the YPG, the People's Protection Unit in northeastern Syria, to the Peshmerga forces in Iraq that took on ISIS. And when in September 2017, Raqqa, the headquarters of the Islamic State, fell, it was the Kurds that were on ground that took Raqqa. It was the Kurds that liberated Kobani. It was the Kurds that liberated much of the cities from Mosul everywhere. They were at the forefront. They fought the war. Even when the Iraqi forces, the regular Iraqi forces, when they ran away from all their positions at the onslaught of the Islamic State, it's where the Kurdish fighting formations that were on ground. They fought the war. They spilled blood. And one would have expected that they should be respected, that they should say, yes, you did something, but they should be appreciated. But no, not for Trump. Trump looks, everything he does, he looks at it in just monetary terms. That the U.S. is spending so much money fighting, and that it was costing the U.S. money to be in Syria, to be in those positions. So he just wants to pull out. For him, everything has to come down to money. And that's the kind of person he is. I seriously think that, yes, for once, the Republican Party, they have seen that, no, Trump has gone too far. He has always gone too far. But for political reasons, they just keep letting him. But now they know for one that, look, this is not just right. Not just for today, but for the future of the United States. For all the allies that they have now, and all the allies that they will make in the future. How do you not talk to them tomorrow? How do they come out to fight for you? That at the end of the day, you'll be there for them. When you can do this to the Kurds, who for all practical purposes took on the Islamic State, which was a danger to civilization itself, and they won the battle. So it is very sad. And we also know, and Trump should know, that Turkey all these years have sought only for the obliteration of the Kurds. I give you a practical example. In 2014, around September 2014, the Islamic State took the enclave known as Kobani. Kobani is the largest city, because they're talking about the 32-kilometer buffer zone, so-called safe zone, between Turkey and Syria that they want to take down. The biggest town there is Kobani. When the Islamic State took Kobani, you know what Turkey did? Turkey did nothing. And Kurds were being murdered and slaughtered by the Islamic State. They didn't allow, not that they didn't do anything, they even didn't allow Kurdish fighters in Turkey itself, Kurdish fighters in Turkey, the PKK people, to cross over the border to help their brothers who were being slaughtered by the Islamic State. It took the YPG who were located in Syria to take on the Syrians, on the Islamic State. At the end of the day, after about 4 or 5 months bloody siege, they were able to liberate Kobani. It is the same Kobani today that Turkey wants to cause the so-called safe zone. They want to take over that place. When the Islamic State occupied that place, they were happy because they preferred the Islamic State to the cause. That's just the truth. And now Trump wants to leave them at the mercy of such a person who hates them very well. It is very sad, my brother. Very sad.
Wow. Very, very sad. Both of them seems to be agreeing to what Trump did to be in the negative dimension. But Trump said something this morning, issuing a very stern warning to Turkey. If they don't act right, he's going to slam them with the one they've not seen before. He's going to cripple their economy. Do you think Trump now realizes that what he did, or the action he ordered the U.S. Army to take, thereby leaving Syria, is not in the interest of America? After all, the enemy of your enemy is your friend. We talk about the Kurdish fighters.
Well, he may have realized, but in his typical brash nature, would not want to admit when he makes a mistake. even when lives are at stake, even when the U.S. National security is at stake, even when the image of the entire country is at stake, even when it will lead to a catastrophic end, he doesn't care. As long as his unmatched wisdom is involved, it has to go his way. Republicans came out. Lindsey Graham, who is a U.S. senator, he has been in the Senate for a very long time now, for decades. He's usually on the side of Trump, no matter what. He had to break ranks with him this time and told him, look, this is just morally wrong. That these courts who have bled for the liberation of that area would just be left vulnerable like that. I mean, it's something that is unfathomable. And also the U.S., former U.S. Secretary to the UN, Nikki Haley, had to say, look, if we want our allies to have our backs when we need them, we also need to have their backs when they need us. The Kurds need us right now because they fought that war. It's something that the whole world knows, that they were the ones who actually fought that. Not one American soldier was killed during the Raqqa war. And today, they are just going to leave them vulnerable when they think they have an ally in you who is giving them some level of protection, because U.S. drones are buzzing around that area. There are air operations happening around there that has deterred Moscow, that has deterred Tehran, that has deterred even Damascus from encouraging ISIS becoming a monster again in that area. But today, as we have it, with the pulling out of these people, of these troops from that place, you are going to have a chaotic region that even the Kurds may find it hard this time to fight, because they are not, I don't think they saw it coming that someday the American president will turn on them because of the nature of person that he is. But I'm not sure they saw it this fast, and an overnight call, and you just withdraw your troops. So it's become, even a former special envoy mission for anti-ISIS coalition. He said, look, this is basic elementary foreign policy 101. The US leads a coalition of 80 countries and nearly a dozen contributors that are on a mission to Syria. One would expect that the normal thing to be done is to consult with these other countries, with these contributors, that look, this is the plan, this is what I'm working on. How does it fare for you? It's not just the US that is involved. Even if you are the leader here, look, other countries are involved, they all have stakes. Okay, what do you think? And then everybody comes to the table. Okay, if we go like this, your country will be affected. If we go like this, my own country. So how do we come to a compromise? But then you just go unilaterally after a call from a president, and you are supposed to be this tough negotiator. You are supposed to be this guy who can negotiate the toughest deals in the world. You are supposed to be the guy with the unmatched wisdom that the world has never seen. But here you are, just from one call, you feel, yes, the US has suffered a lot of losses, and in fact, I was elected to end these senseless and endless wars. Let me bring my troops back, with no recourse to the consequences it's going to have on your allies. Now, what the special envoy was now saying is that now, by the week, a US handshake, either from the president or from diplomats, is now meaningless. It's losing its value over time because nobody believes the US anymore. So when they promise you something, they can come tomorrow and say, look, we are not going to abide by this. Just like he broke the Iran nuclear deal. Your predecessor signed it and you feel it doesn't make any sense, and then you tear it up.
But
so
you did it with reasons.
Yeah, fine, but then what happens to your allies? Every other person cannot be a fool, and you just be the only wise person in the whole world.
Okay, I'll come back to you, Williams. Now, a strong warning has been issued to Turkey, telling them to act right or else they're going to suffer economically. Do you see the message having an impact on Erdogan?
I don't think so at all. I don't think so. It is as clear as daylight what Erdogan wants. It has been clear. And for over 10 years now, he cannot stand the cause. He wants to see the cause decimated. He cannot stand and think of a united Kurdistan, a country with let me tell you something. The cause, as we speak, that the fourth largest ethnic group in the whole Middle East, and yet they don't have a country to themselves. They are in Iraq, they are in Iran, they are in Syria, they are in Turkey, and they are in Armenia. And it is only fair that, apart from only Iraq, in Iraq they have an autonomous region called Kurdistan. It's not still a country, just an autonomous region, a part of Iraq. So I think, and Erdogan is afraid that these guys now have acquired, gone through the rigors of war, have become battle hardened, that they are going to turn against him. That they are now better, that they are now in a better shape to fight Turkey. So he wants to do something quickly about it. So if you are telling that, look, there will be economic repercussions, you are going to obliterate the economy of Turkey, you are going to do this, you are going to do that, that cannot deter him. Because the United States is not the only trading partner that Turkey has. Turkey can look to the east, can look to Russia, can look to China, can look to the European Union. It thinks it can weather that. For Erdogan, the Kurds, they are an existential threat to him. And we all know that. And Trump knows that. And the Republican Party knows that. That's what they are pushing. No, don't do this. You want to take it a step too far. And it is even like this, like my colleague said, it has a moral edge to it that distresses the feeling, that makes you think there is no honor anywhere again. This is the last vestige of Americans' honor, Americans' worth, what they stand for. And they want to take it away. People haven't bled, haven't suffered. You are just spending money and you are hungry. But people have given their blood. Mothers have become, they have lost their children. Children have become orphans. Because they bled for you, because they took on the Islamic State. The first terrorist group to aspire to geographical name, who carved out an enclave for them and they became a country. It was the cause that single-handedly took on them. On the behalf of Western civilization, on the behalf of human progress, and they fought and they won. It is only fair that you stand by them now. You know their enemy, someone who have said for decades, since the 1920s, that they cannot stand the cause, that the cause has to go. And you want to give them the only one chance they need to inflict maximum damage on the cause, and you let it be. After they have wasted their lives, they have wasted their resources, they have wasted their strength and manhood fighting for you. Now they are decimated, and they are not as strong as they were before they took on ISIS. Now you want to let them to be at the wheels of their enemies. It is not fair, and there's no threat that can deter Turkey. There is no threat at all, because Turkey cannot stand them. Turkey thinks they poses a bigger problem to them than even their economy. So that is what we have on ground. And it's only fair that Trump, if you want to leave, you can do it gradually. You can graduate it. It's not something that you just do once and leave them at the mercy of their enemy. There are other ways of doing it. You can leave, you can remove some, just pull out gradually so that you give them time to think. And it is even also morally not right that the people in this very same area, the so-called 32-kilometer radius that Turkey wants to turn to a safe zone between itself and Syria, was liberated at the cost of Kurdish blood. Where was Turkey when the Islamic State took that region of Syria? They did nothing. They did nothing. And it was, even at the time, instead of fighting the Islamic State, they were dropping bombs on Kurdish formations. Instead of fighting Islamic State at the time. So that same person now, you want to tell him to do anything when the only protection that it's called out is the American presence there. You want to remove that presence and leave them at the whims and caprice of their enemies. It is sad. And I strongly think that there's no economic threat, no threat of sanction that you want to impose on them that can deter them. Look at North Korea. Look at Iran. Are they not still surviving after all the maximum pressure that have been inflicted on them? They are still there. So that's the same thing. And Turkey is a bigger economy than this. They can weather those any sanctions that the US want to inflict on them. They just want the cost to leave the picture. And any consequences that come, they take it.
All right, now that brings to the question, who owns the land? Talking about a safe zone. Yes, morally speaking, maybe the Kurdish fighters or the Kurds, they are justified. But talking about safe zone right now, who should lay claim to that region? Is it not Turkey? If we talk about geographical location. Apart from the fact that the fought against ISIS, yes, backed by the US and all that. Williams.
Well, I still think, because when a place, when there's dispute in a place and then there is an outbreak of war and a group of people come together, like he had rightly said, the Kurds are everywhere. And if they've been able to fight for the sovereignty of that place via war, and then they bled for it, and they gave their lives, they gave their resources and all that, I think they should have a moral right to say that is their place. And if they are now advanced, because they have been, manning prisons where ISIS fighters have been captured and kept in, they've been manning camps, they've been patrolling former ISIS caliphates to make sure that ISIS doesn't rear its ugly head again. But now that they've been left vulnerable and they've gotten the news that America now wants to renege on its commitment to them, they are now having to advance towards the northeastern border to defend themselves, because they are aware of the animus Erdogan has towards them. And they are all too sure that when he eventually secures the safe zone, or whatever he calls that area, and then after some time, he would advance towards obliterating them. So their only option is to make sure that they fight for that area. And even if Turkey, because it's actually a border between Turkey and Syria, and then the buffer zone is that 32 kilometers between the border of Turkey to another side of Iraq. So they are trying to make sure that they patrol that zone without any check and balance from the US. And after some time, when the world is not watching, launch an assault against these Kurds that are not now protected, and they may have lost some of their control of that area. So there is definitely going to be a conflict that will result in more people dying. And the US could have done this with its coalition partners. Look for a better way to position the Kurds. Look for a better, other than just issuing threats on Twitter that people now just see as mere threats. Is North Korea still not surviving today, in spite of the fact that he said he was going going to be rain of brimstone on North Korea if they ever tested their nuclear weapons again? Till today, there are still reports of North Korea testing missiles, testing weapons, and that even those that are no longer testing, they've tested them before, and they already have their nuclear capability. So to say that Turkey owns that place, when of a truth, when the place was actually in dispute, when the place was in chaos, they stood aloof, pretended not to know what was happening. And then even the guys that were fighting, you were dropping bombs on them. And today, the place is free. You now want to come as a superpower in the region and exert your force, which doesn't make any sense, because I feel the Kurds have a right to their own existence to protect themselves from Turkish invasion.
Now, from what you said, they have the right to their own existence and, of course, to protect themselves from Turkish invasion. And the question is still hanging. Who owns the land?
Yes. The question is very open and quite clear. Who owns the land? It is that place we're talking about is an integral part of Syria, northeastern Syria. It's a part and parcel of Syria. But because that place, as we speak, is presently being controlled by Kurdish forces, hence Ankara cannot go to bed, cannot sleep. Even the Syrian government wants to take that back. Assad has told all who are scared to listen that, look, his ultimate goal is to take back the whole of Syria, which includes that place that the U.S. want to stylishly cede to Turkey. It has always been a part of Syria, but inhabited by the Kurds. The Kurds occupy northeastern Syria, the mountainous side of, in fact, every mountainous region in that enclave, in that Middle East, are inhabited by the Kurds. That's why when they talk, they call them they don't call them Kurds. In Turkey, at the time, they even refused their identity. They call them the mountain Turks, that they are Turks. The mountain Turks. So that any place you have all those healing region, there you find the Kurds. The same thing in some part of the world where you have some riverine area, you find a particular tribe in this side. But in that area, where there is mountain, that's where you find the Kurds. So that's, to answer your question, the land originally belongs to Syria. It's a part of Syria inhabited by the Kurds. Just like Yoruba presently inhabits the western part of Nigeria. The same can be said of the Kurds in present Syria. They inhabit the northeastern part of Syria. So that's that to answer your question. But we must understand.
Now, hold on. If that part belongs to Syria, according to you, they call it the boundary, call it buffer zone or the peaceful enclave, whatever they want to call it. And now here we have a Turkey saying, look, people have to leave that place if we want to take charge. And Syria now says, look, that land belongs to us. Don't think it was smart enough for the Kurdish fighters to evacuate for peace to reign?
to evacuate their homeland.
Is it their homeland? Because from what you write, it says it belongs to the Syrian government.
No, because they don't have a country of their own. Because it's an ethnic group. Are you getting it? They don't have a country of their own. They live in northeastern Syria. They live in that area that they want to see, that Turkey want to. You know, that Turkey is not, Turkey don't, because they live in northeastern Syria. They also live in southern Turkey. They live here between. They are in Syria. They are in Turkey.
And they're in the borders.
So, yes, they don't want what Turkey doesn't want. They don't want them to team up with. In Turkey, we have what we call the PKK that was founded by Abdullah Öcalan. So he fought. He has been fighting. It was founded in 1978. Since 1978, they have been waging a fierce war against the government of Ankara. So he doesn't want these present forces in Syria that have become battle hardened, that have learned how to fight and fight very, very well. He don't want them to link up with the PKK inside Turkey. If they do that, they become a more formidable force that can take on Ankara. That's what he's trying to present. And that is the opportunity that Trump wants to gift to him today, so that he can easily divide them and conquer them. He knows if they kind of unite, there will be a problem. So that is the issue we have. The land origin is an integral part of Syria, but which is being inhabited by the Kurds. So that is the issue. That's the fact on ground now. What he is afraid of is a united Kurdistan, where the allies in Iraq, their allies in Syria, their allies in Turkey and in Armenia come together to become a strong place. But let me tell you something. If you will permit me. After the First World War, there was what they call the Treaty of Sèvres. In that treaty, the West agreed to form a country known as Kurdistan, a home for the Kurds.
After the First World War?
After the First World War. But in 1920, about 2 or 3 years later, they now realized, after the then Ottoman Empire, and they now, after the West, they are always hypocritical. After some pressure from the old Ottoman Empire, they now reneged on it. They now came up with the Treaty of Lausanne, which now said, no, just you be there. And that Treaty of Lausanne now guaranteed the present border of Turkey today. And when he guaranteed that border, he didn't make provision for the Kurds. The Kurds were now integrated into Turkey. It was that area around this border we are talking today between Turkey and Syria that was originally earmarked to be for the Kurds, an independent sovereign state solely for the Kurds. So they kind of, for many reasons, for many hypocritical reasons, they failed the Kurds. And they have been failing the Kurds for centuries.
Right.
And now, Erdogan doesn't want to be the person that the Kurds will now rise in his time. No. If his forefathers were able to suppress the Kurds, he wants to also be able to suppress the Kurds. And for the first time in a very long time, the Kurds, they are kind of united. They have acquired a kind of strength that comes from having fought, having taken on a strong enemy and having prevailed. So that is the fear that they today have, and it's become kind of problematic.
All right, well, it's that time for us to move straight down to the National Assembly, joint session of the National Assembly, where President Muhammadu Buhari is to present the 2020 budget to the joint session of the National Assembly. This will call it a wrap on International Forum. Happy viewing.
said